This is the Today with Tally podcast.
Everything's great. We're
Awesome.
excited about the 119th. Mr. Trump will be sworn in here in a couple of days. Congress is in, Senate's in. They're populating the committees, and they have populated congressional committees. So I'm the chairman of Disability Assistance again for the 119th. Real excited about that. And then I actually moved from the health subcommittee over to modernization so I can concentrate on the electronic healthcare record and that monstrosity. So we'll see. That's great.
Yeah, there's a lot of work that's needed there. So I think we got the right guy there. I mean, of course, putting a veteran in there, I think is extremely important. And what's going on in the VA. And, if there's somebody that can get in there and fix it and, put that pressure on folks to do the right thing for the good of the country and operate in good faith, it would be you, Congressman. So we do appreciate you, for doing that on behalf of the veteran community. But you said, hey, look, President Trump, man, the inauguration is, 5 days away, man. We're finally, I don't even know how we got out of these last 4 years, but thank God we are going into a new chapter in American history. And I've never been more optimistic, really, in my 47 years. And for these last 4 years, I was like, oh, Lord, oh, my God, please be with us. And then all of a sudden now it's almost like we're going to have the worst of the country and the best of the country all in the same fiscal year.
Yeah, it's exciting times. I mean, since we have all three chambers, the Congress, Senate, and the White House, and President Trump, he is, coming out. He had the gap, obviously, and you come on like a moment of reflection when I watch him. Like, hey, look, you had your 4 years, and then president, but you've had 4 years you've been working out. You're ready. You come in, you could just tell how he is maneuvering across the space. And the vice president too. Okay, so the vice president, Mr. Vance, exciting. He's a vet. So I actually got a chance to chat him up on the House floor the other day when we were certifying the election, and I'm going to be in front of him quite a bit talking veteran stuff. And the incoming secretary, Mr. Collins, he and I have had the opportunity to exchange text messages. I've never met him, but members of Congress that had the opportunity to work with him say he's an absolutely amazing individual and he's going to do great things for the VA. So looking forward to that.
JD Vance, I love the guy. I read Hillbilly Elegy, a phenomenal book. I even watched the TV show. The movie has nothing to do on the book there, but he's a solid man, U.S. Marine veteran. I mean, this guy directly from the holler. And worked his way up. So again, we've got the right pieces of this puzzle put together, and this dream team, in my eyes, has been established. And look, Pete Hegseth just yesterday was in the Senate hearing, and I know he took a beating, but he came out, I think, firing out on top. And
he did great. I think there was a couple of senators on the Democratic side that asked pointless questions, but that's made for TV, right? You could tell, Pete's he's a very grounded, dynamic guy. I've known him for the better part of a decade. Very educated and he speaks very well. So he can process, compute, and then have a response. And I think that showed yesterday when he was going through the Senate confirmation. And then some of those senators asked, so I thought when Mark Wayne Mullen got up, when it was his turn to go, man, when he dropped those hammers on those, I was like, hey, it's over, man. Y'all might as well just.
Oh, yeah, that's what I was like.
Y'all have nothing left. Y'all gavel out. He killed it.
Absolutely. Certify him. So.
It's a funny story. When I walked up to the vice president on the House floor, I was like, Mr. Vice President, my name is Morgan Luttrell. I'm from Texas. And he goes, oh, I know who you are. And I was like, seriously? I was like, great. We're going to be best friends, I can tell. Anyway.
So did you approach him with your mean resting face? Or
no, I think I was smiling because I knew we were on TV because the camera, is following him around. So I had to mentally prepare myself to be jovial when I walked in. Easy guy to talk to, though, man. He's just nice as can be. I really look forward to working with him. I think he's going to do great things, because I see him, in my mind, I position him to be the next president when Mr. Trump does his 4 years. I think Mr. Vance should just walk right in there and like, hey, I got it. We're running.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. We are saving America.
Yeah. 12 years, man. We own it.
Amen, brother. And look, Pete Hegseth had a lot of support show up there. And I think a lot of it was put on by a retired U.S. Navy SEALs.
We met over at the Vietnam Memorial first thing in the morning. And everybody got, I never got kind of a head count on how many were. We walked around the memorials, and then we walked over to the Senate and did full support. A bunch of news outlets were there. And there was myself, Mr. Crane, Mr. Van Orden were out there supporting Mr. Hegseth with the special warfare community. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Profound statement. You got to look at it like so. The question was asked to me, it's like, hey, can you give us kind of a kind of background information on why you guys are out here? It's like, hey, look, you got a special. It's not just spec war operators are out here. You got Blue Star families, you got Gold Star families, you got spouses, you've got every service is represented here. And this is the veteran community speaking to not only the American population as veterans, but to the Senate. It's like, hey, look, we're supporting him. We fought alongside this guy, and he has earned our respect and admiration and support for that position. Mm-hmm.
Another thing that Pete has done is that he's been a massive supporter of the veteran community at Fox News. So he was able to go out there and put boots on the ground and go to all these different veteran events and have a camera behind it to show the world, to show the country all the great things that's going on in the veteran community. Because a lot of the times, look, let's face it, all we hear is the bad stuff that happens. He had a great lens that he put over the top of the veteran community abroad. I mean, just throw the net out and cast it. But you're right, because it's the narrative of being a veteran is that there's always going to be something wrong, which is not the case. I mean, there's just so much great things that goes on in the veteran community. Yeah. And he did a great job with not only his, on Fox Nation, but just on Fox News, every day. There was no doubt that his support and loyalty as a veteran himself, it just shined through, which is great. And you need that as Secretary of Defense. Yeah. He's got my support 100%. And, he's also a huge champion of the New York City SEAL Swim. My good buddy, Bill Brown.
I got conned into doing that too yesterday. I'm like, I was like, man, I don't need a bacteria float. I got enough problems as it is. Dump in that water and swallow something's going to kill me in 2 weeks.
You need to call Bill Brown.
That's who I was talking to.
Yeah.
He was the one standing out there kind of coaxing me into it. And I was like, bro, I'm from Texas, man.
I tell you what.
You going to do it with me?
No, I'll go. If you go to Manhattan and you do the New York City SEAL Swim this year, I believe it's in August, could be late August, early September, I will be there because I know they do it for 9/11. Okay. If you go, I'll go. How about that? But I ain't swimming. I'll go take pictures.
Well, this is a team effort, man. One team, one dream. If I'm going to jump in that water, everybody tells you you're not supposed to swim in that water. I mean, even as a team guy, team guys are hard-headed. And anyway, I'm gonna have to pray on that one, buddy. I just, I love to swim. I do, man. I swim quite a bit up here, but I don't know.
Yeah, those guys are, dude. Yeah, Bill Brown, that dude's a legend, man. That dude's cut from some warrior cloth right there, man.
Yeah, he's a beast. He had a good time yesterday when we were carrying those American flags around. He was running point for everybody. There wasn't no doubt who was in charge.
The 119th Congress, in my opinion, is going to be the most active and the most accomplished Congress in the history of our country. Would you agree with that statement?
And that's what I want to happen, Brian. I'll tell you that right now. I think the stage has been set. And the leadership has us here almost 3 full weeks out of the month, not in the district. So, for District 8, we got to juggle that because District 8 likes to see me. But the schedule that we have, we're up here almost 3 weeks out of the month until our August break where we get to go home. And the reason that we're doing that is because from President Trump down through the Senate to us, we're moving and shaking. And we have been prepping legislation since the election was finalized to come in and just run full steam ahead. Mm-hmm. And I think with 54 members in the Senate, and because we still have a small majority, right? We only have 2 votes in the lower chamber in Congress. And we need, you need 60 in the Senate, but 50. I think we'll be able to maneuver and position ourselves that we're going to get a lot done, and we really will have with reconciliation is going to be a big win for President Trump, and how we're packaging that currently in Congress and in discussions with the Senate. I think we're going to get a huge win out of that. With Homeland first, foremost, because the border's everything. Homeland and defense it's really going to benefit from it. And energy and commerce. I mean, there's the package deal, but those are the 2 big ones.
Yeah, I mean, look, the American people are ready to put this train back on the tracks and proceed with common sense solutions and get back to what this country is all about. The honor, the courage, the commitment, who we are as people, our values. It's time to take America back, and really it begins now. I mean, it began January 3rd, but on the 20th is going to be the inauguration, and it's unprecedented.
Hey, January 20th. I don't know how quickly he's going to walk off that balcony where he swears in to his office and sign all
He's
the
ready to get
executive
to
orders right then. And I'd be willing to bet it's probably that day. We're going to go for flight, buddy. We're all in. So I think 119th, arguably 118th was the worst Congress.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Was the worst Congress in history.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to say that and choke that one down since I was a freshman in the 118th. But after horrible failures create great successes. You learn so much when you really kind of hit those friction points. And I think the Republican conference has learned a lot, and I think that we will not make those same mistakes.
As bad as these last 4 years were, even on my mental health, the depression, I love my country, and seeing her at a weakest and most vulnerable time in our nation's 248-year history, my heart hurt. And like you had just said, the 118th perhaps being the worst ever, followed by the 119th being the best ever. That's, again, we're going to be the worst and the best in the same fiscal year. And you literally can't make that stuff up. And,
if you think about the 119th, our opportunity is for, Rick, since we secure the border, we can decrease the economic burden on the population, and we have the opportunity to end not only the Ukraine war, but the Israel-Hamas conflict, rescue all the hostages, which 33 are coming home here shortly.
Yeah.
Just start building if we're building our house right out of the chute, we have such opportunity here. And I just, and I talk to my colleagues every day about it. And, we just, we're excited.
Now, Congressman, what type of changes are expected to happen during this next Congress when it comes to veterans legislation?
So me personally, as the DAMA chairman, I'm going to carry that momentum that we created in the 118th. My number one issue as the disability assistance chairman, if I want to take the suicide rate that was over 6, the suicide rate has grown exponentially. It's never decreased. And they threw some numbers at us during COVID one time. I was like, but that train's going down the track the wrong direction. I think that for me, talking to the incoming secretary, I want to make the Department of Veterans Affairs the premier institute for research and medicine. I do. I think our veterans deserve that. I think it's positioned to do that. And because not only do we have the pool of individuals, we have the data and the information that we can compute through computational analytics to solve these problems. I'm still working on, and I don't know if all the listeners, but the national work queue, where veterans the packages that they submit for disability processing is just, the time frame is still exponential. Because the VA is such a large machine, and it's amazing at every single rung of the ladder has to be specifically aligned for functionality. And I'm hoping that we can trim the proverbial fat, create the satellite infrastructure, so the veterans, when you do submit a package to the VA, it's not a year, 2 years, 3 years down the road. It gets kicked back, gets lost in translation. But that deals with, and I'm no stranger to wire brushing the VA, but we need to man, train, and equip the VA. I mean, the PACT Act came on board, which we're still trying to build around that momentum for the PACT Act in the VA department. So it's Congress's, Congress needs to make sure that we give the secretary what he's going to need in order to do that. To keep, retention needs to be kept where it is and growing. Lots of complexities. So in the 119th, if you're just kind of bottom line up front, veteran suicide is mine, chairman, and I'm sure the secretary's number one issue. For me, it's national work queue, and I'm gonna get in the weeds on you on this one. Okay, so there's 172 VA facilities in the country. When the electronic healthcare record system, only 6 of those 172 facilities can communicate with each other, and it was a 10-year program that failed on the electronic healthcare record system. 10-year program that failed. It's in a pause currently. We've spent over $16 billion on it. Projected to go to 36, and currently there's no forward momentum. So the reason I asked to go to the modernization subcommittee is so I can go to those facilities across the country with the individuals that are putting that into place and make sure that there is no faults. So we're going to be busy this year.
Yeah, we got 2 years.
119 produces.
Yeah. Minimum, we have 2 years, and we got a lot of work to do.
We got 17 months, cowboy.
Yeah. So this is a question that I always have, and I don't think I've ever got it answered before. It is like, do you believe that the Department of Veterans Affairs is paying a fair wage to the clinicians and the doctors that serve our veterans?
Okay, so we're talking about VA actual, right? Satellite campus, C-Box, and whatnot. So the question I'd answer that question, I would say no. And the reason.
So can I follow up?
Yeah, sure. I can amplify the answer to that, but yeah, go ahead.
And the reason why I ask is because I know that you could do something monumental here. There should be no reason why that the VA can't be competitive in medicine. Let's face it. I remember Mark Takano, the former chair, say, hey, look, we have the best doctors, we have the best medicine, we have the best hospitals in the world at the VA hospitals. And I was at that town hall in Riverside, California when I heard that. But yet he doesn't even go to the VA. He never even served in the military, but he was in the VA House committee. And so he's saying this stuff. And I talk to veterans every single day, hundreds a month, and they are getting so frustrated with long wait times. They're getting frustrated with them losing their doctors after a year, especially on the mental health side. Yeah. They get in with a therapist. And they completely empty their hearts. They put everything on the table for that therapist or psychologist to just get up and leave in a year and a half and 2 years and go off to a better paying job, because a lot of these VAs are connected to universities and colleges. So they're coming in there, they're doing their residency. Of course, they're oversaw by, true doctors, and then they leave and then they get pushed out. So why can't we make the VA more competitive when it comes to getting and earning a paycheck?
So great question with lots of complexities. Okay. And you hit the nail on the head. Is we have doctors that we'll go see, and then we won't see them in a year. And that's because organizations, private or public organizations, will snatch them up because of what they do. And they have the ability to pay that money for that doctor. When it comes to us paying doctors in the VA system itself, remember, we're spending taxpayer dollars. And we have to pass that through legislation. So now we have to find out exactly how much money does VA have, how much money will the president's budget, and then the congressional budget, and how are we going to, what are the dollar signs going to look like, and where does that live? Now, we've increased pay, but private organizations will still come in and snatch them away. So my question back is like, how much is enough? Because if we keep increasing the amount of pay, and believe me, Ben, I'm not scared to pay a doctor to take care of me. I want the best ones doing that.
Yeah.
But if we increase the monetary amounts or the salaries to these individuals, we can't do that far enough for organization to keep organizations from coming and grabbing them.
Well,
that's just in the math, bro. And that's not me talking in the 118th, 119th. That's just sheer. That's just a math problem, and it's been happening. And here we have our generation coming out of the military, right? The majority of us are starting to exit, so we're flooding the system. We're flooding the VA, and the VA is constantly trying to catch up. And while we're feeding the VA as much money as we possibly can, up $700 billion, I think was 1/18, $700 billion for the secretary and his organization, and mental health providers. First and foremost is you got to find somebody that wants to be a mental health provider, and then you have to go through all the schooling to become a mental health provider. And we're behind that power curve already. But when you have such an effective or efficient mental health provider, somebody's going to take them. Mm-hmm. And that's the conversations that we have in hearings with not only with the VA, with private organizations. They're not, and it's not it's nonprofits. Nonprofits come in and snake them in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
That's kind of and I don't know if that really kind of answered your question. I'm just trying to kind of show you the complexity of it.
No, and I completely understand that, Congressman, and I do appreciate your upfront, transparency when it comes to this, because there's so many veterans out in the country say, well, why can't we reallocate funds? Why can't we take from here, like it is?
So you hit the nail on the head. Say that word "take from" again, especially when you're talking about veterans. Mm-hmm. Buddy, if you give a veteran something, you're not going to take it back. We don't do that. Have there been programs that have been created that should be drawn in? Nobody would disagree with yeah, that's probably the case. Mm-hmm. You take something from a veteran. The veterans are our most cherished asset in the country. You don't take something you gave them. They earn that. Mm. And so if we talk about reallocating money, because people laugh when I say this, I can't just create money. I shouldn't even say that. I can't create.
Now you can.
We have to. We take money. We get our allotment of money. We ask, through the department, will ask for an increased funding line in certain areas. Yeah, and we have to stick to that. And President Trump's got Doge coming in. And they're going to start doing refinements, right? So imagine this. So imagine when Doge comes into the VA.
I love it.
Yeah. Okay. So this is my position. I was like, you can start taking things, but I can promise you there's going to be something you're probably going to take that I'm not going to like and my veterans aren't going to like. And we were in conference, and then I have to have that discussion. I'm like, hey guys, I can see where you're going with this, but let me tell you the backside on this.
Yeah.
We were in conference, and Mr. Ramaswamy and Mr. Musk was in there with us. And one of the members of Congress stood up. He's like, hey, look, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to tell you who your biggest challenge is going to be and who you're going to have the biggest problem with. And he goes, they're sitting in the room with you. And that's a true statement.
Mm-hmm.
It is.
Oh, yeah.
Because if you come into my district, if you walk into my house and you try to take something from me that my district wants. And so like if you're coming into the VA as a veteran on Veterans Committee, if you're going to come in here and try to start taking things, we're going to have a conversation about that. What does it look like?
Well, and the only reason why I asked about when I said take, because there's so many different budgets, within the federal government. And of course, the bureaucratic machine of the VA is, I believe it's the largest.
Second largest, I think.
Second?
Yeah, it's up there. Correct.
And President Trump is a businessman who puts America first. So say if he sits down, he loves his veterans. Mm-hmm. He loves his veterans. And he says, why can't we draw a little bit out of, say, the DOT budget or this budget or this budget? And what we're going to do is we're not going to completely cripple those other federal agencies, but we're just going to take little bits at a time to maybe increase the pay at the VA, because what we're doing is we're training clinicians and doctors that are tip of the spear. They are training and they are getting all their schooling on veterans. So they're seeing all of the recent diseases. They know how to treat for trauma. They know how to treat for war, combat related incidents, TBIs, mental health, anxiety, depression, bones, back, neck. And so when they get out to the civilian world, they are so heavily trained. They're like the special forces of the new, medical field. They've seen it all. And then they go into the civilian sector and they're like, man, this is easy. And I've gotten a 25% pay increase. And that's all I'm saying is, how can we keep our doctors and clinicians happy and want to stay at the VA for 20 years, 25 years, 30 years, so these veterans can build these rapport with these doctors and begin their healing process.
It's money. I mean, you hear that. That's usually the first thing that comes out of somebody's mouth sitting in front of them. It's like, hey, we need to increase the pay.
Yeah.
And I'm tracking what you're saying.
And
it's kind of, roll the tape back to what we talked about a little bit earlier. Is like, how much?
Yeah.
Because it's never going to be more than somebody else is going to pay for them. Because think about where the VA hospitals are. I mean, some people don't want to live in certain areas. I mean, again, there's just so many just intangibles that go to this. If we could have a set salary that was beneficial to an orthopedic surgeon, an oncologist, a dietitian, whatever, and have them homestead, that would be amazing. To the department, can we take money from a different department? So I'm a VA guy, VA committees. So my job is to argue, hey, this is why we need this money. But I'm also a very fiscally conservative guy. So I'm not going to try to add money to our national debt and borrow money we don't have. So while I'm arguing to get money for the VA, DOT, energy, everybody else is like, no, we need this money too. And there's and believe it or not, man, there's only a certain amount of money we have.
Right.
The United States government's got a very bad spending problem. Which myself and other colleagues up here are like, hey, look, we cut the hello. Everybody wake up.
Well, that's why you're in Congress.
Yes, that is why I'm up here.
Yeah.
So, and these are these are discussions that need to be had. They're the hard ones to have, because the veterans are like, hey, look, like you're asking, why can't we have this? And, money's an issue.
Yeah.
Manning is an issue. We don't have the bodies, and the ones that how long it takes to train somebody up to become a subject matter expert, a national work queue, over a year. And hey, buddy, if they go, they go, and then we got to start completely over. So it's like, dang it, man. I mean, so it's just this constant street fight. I probably shouldn't say it that way. It's just like this constant street fight to get to where we need to go, and it's kind of getting hit in the face every time we come around a corner. to try to make the right call at the right time to do something profound for, the country, but especially for the veterans, since that's what we're talking about.
Right.
And so in the 119th, Brian, we bring legislation up and we move that through. We have negotiations with the Senate. It goes up. President signed it. Then we start adding dollar bills to it. Because then you have to say, all right, what we create, is that effective? Is it working, or is it too slow? Is it too fast? Did we not get everything we need? Then we do amend it. It's a living machine, man. This place. But
has a life.
But I tell you what, buddy, we trying.
No. I'm not beating you up. I'm just hey, veterans.
No, I'm not saying at all.
Oh yeah, I haven't even began to defile myself yet. So a few more things. Buddy. Okay. So what sort of new initiatives are you working on in presenting and working through the legislative process in hopes of becoming law in this new Congress for the veterans?
Oh, I got the tally bill number 2. How about that one?
That's one of them. Okay.
That's a good one, right?
Yeah. Oh, speaking about that, look, I got to give your guy a shout out. I'm going to say his name, Jackson.
Jackson? Yeah.
Jackson and I have had a relationship for over 2 years now. We have been in the sausage making process, folks. If you don't know how legislation gets done in DC, it is not an easy task. It is back and forth. It is compromise. If you can learn how to get to get bills passed and to get the right wording and language down on the bill, you will have a beautiful marriage. Because that just means that you can compromise and you can agree to disagree and you can sit down at the same table and have a cordial conversation to get things done on behalf of the country and operate in good faith and for the good of the country. And I know that's exactly what you plan on doing, Morgan.
That's it. Well said. Yeah, it's a, legislation's kind of a fruit salad. There's this back and forth, and
oh man, the sausage.
One of the things that I really respect about you is your grind. Your profound precision instrument. And that's so important. Because this place, you can imagine what comes in, not just to the halls, but into the office too. And yeah, we've been working like 2 years. We've been working on this thing. I'm gonna push it through here next month. I think it's next month, February, March. Again, but then they go, here we go. Now the world sees it, or the country sees it. So that's when now we're going to have these discussions and these debates. And I think I'm trying to amend it this direction. I got to bring it back this direction. It's how the sausage is made. I'm on board that one for everybody. That's good.
Yeah, exactly. Common sense solutions. Look out for the veterans' best interest and protect all these veterans that have honorably served, and to ensure that, hey, look, if there's something wrong in the VA, that you have a clear path of legal recourse, and that the VA is going to be there to pick you up and not you down.
Mm-hmm. So yours is going through. We're doing a lot on the cyber artificial intelligence side. We kind of dork out in this office on artificial intelligence. That's the next. I mean, definitely it's here, but the next phase of evolution. The Department of Veterans Affairs computational footprint is not where it should be. So that goes into modernization again, like a healthcare record, but how is the VA protecting that information? That's it's such a the data itself is so rich with information. We don't want anybody to take that away from us. So that's what this office is focusing on, from what we listed in DAMA to the HR, but it's a big cyber kind of computational growth.
Have you had a chance to sit down and speak with Elon Musk?
So I was in conference with him. He and I have not had a face-to-face. Because when we do, which I will meet once everything is in place, I'm going to carry that healthcare record problem. I'm going to lay it down in front of him. I'm like, this is absolutely what you do.
Absolutely.
And I can promise you, he'll come in with that kitchen sink.
America, I'm getting goosebumps right now. Oh my gosh, this is going to be so exciting for the VA and the veterans. They're going to be like, holy cow, they're streamlining my process. It doesn't need to be as hard as it's been. Like,
I think
Elon Musk could come in with Congressman Morgan Luttrell and literally put together a machine that will work and be operable.
Yeah, and Mr. Collins, the incoming secretary, he's wide. I mean, the aperture's wide. He's listening, which is great. And then we'll go from there. So we got with him, we got 4 solid. We got 2 years of Congress. The VA committee is it will kind of come off of the rail a little bit, but it's very bipartisan. So we've got 4 years to continue to move forward. I think President Trump's going to give us Mr. Collins a lot of rope. Mm-hmm. And we'll be able to really kind of get into the granular level.
Yeah.
And keep moving.
Love it, man.
Yeah, buddy.
Listen, dude, Congressman, I didn't mean to say dude. It's just like, I know you as a buddy.
Hey, man, we go way back. We're good.
Yeah, I have the respect of the office. Congressman Morgan Luttrell, I want to give you the final word here. Look, there's a lot of veterans out there that are constantly going through the battle, man. And I get it a lot. And it's unfortunate and it's disheartening and it's frustrating, but I've been there. I've been in that times of self-isolation, as your brother has. I mean, all these different components that veterans go through that lead to them taking their lives. They feel as if they cannot go any further. They have nothing else to contribute. What sort of encouragement and inspiration could you share with our nation's veterans?
God, man, if I had to have that conversation with somebody who was literally on the 1-inch pistol range, and then that's the last line right there. If you're there, don't ever forget the community that we came from. I mean, we come from that tribe, that special special fraternity that. If you look to your left and your right and you got somebody to serve with, or even if there's a Marine sitting there or a Navy guy that's sitting there, like, hey, look, man, veterans are so positive and they react so in a positive way when you can catch a veteran that's struggling. So those of whomever that's kind of dancing down at the bottom of a bottle, or I don't care if it's liquid kind or you're popping medications, and there's an issue. First and foremost, that taboo that we grew up in is like, hey, look, it's my problem, it's nobody else's problem. Man, if you serve this country, you deserve this country to take care of you. So don't be scared to stand up and say, hey, look, man, I don't need a handout. I just need a hand up for now. Mm-hmm. And because the veteran community is going to take care of the veteran community. The veterans can solve this veteran suicide problem. We can. Yes, when you bring the world on top of it to try to fix this thing, this needs to be done with a scalpel. We can do that. Mm-hmm. When we were in the military, we just remember, veterans know what I'm talking about. If you're not a vet, I don't mean any disrespect, but veterans understand. Like, hey, when you're in a platoon hut, man, you're good. You can share everything. We get all the problems out on the table, and hey, I'm solid. This is when we migrate out and away from that thing that we've known and loved our entire lives, and we fall down in that hole, that dark, deep rabbit hole that all of us get into. And I went down in it. Everybody does. You leave the mill, that's where you go. And I don't care what you got in place. It just happens because that operational tempo and the camaraderie and that togetherness is gone. So if you look in the mirror one day and you're like, damn it, make that call. And then as challenging it is to deal with the VA sometimes. I got it. I know it's not easy. It's not. Don't ever give up, man. We don't quit. That's why the rest of the world is terrified of an American service member. It's because number one, we sign up to fight. And number two, we don't ever quit.
Amen.
And I tell myself that every single day. And then I do what I can up here to help. But hey, man, thanks for having me on, Brian. It's good to see you, buddy. Hair looks amazing.
You've been a great champion. And when you get back into district, let me know. And we'll go to Honor Cafe.
Hey, yeah, dinner's on me, buddy.
All right, brother.
Later. Adios. Thank y'all.
This is the Today with Tally podcast.